Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Man, what a night. Man, especially we're going to start off. We got a great show in store for us today. And questions already coming in. Ben Troupe is with us right now, still celebrating, licking his chops for the next game as Charlotte comes into the Swamp Saturday. That'll be a challenge. Ben will tell you, you win those big games, you got to celebrate them. But to me, winning is like deep sea fishing, man. If you're catching snapper or grouper, you want to get your line back in the water as fast as you can. You don't want to go lay on the couch and take a nap. You win a big game like Florida did against the visiting Tennessee Volunteers. You can't wait to get back on the field. Hey, great show in store again. Big Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal in Savannah. Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9, award-winning sportscaster, twice Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year, covering LSU and the SEC and all things in the sportsman's paradise, Louisiana, joins us in the second segment. HR-2, Doug Dean, AU Dose Birmingham, checks in again with us, talking about what's going on with Hugh Freeze, the Tigers, and how it relates to the SEC picture. And Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, checks in from Tuscaloosa in the final segment, talking Tider Insider TV. That'll be on tonight with him and Gary Harris. You cannot be a Tider Insider unless you were a subscriber to Tider Insider. Real quick, the first ever St. Paul Open will be October 2nd, Chickasaw Country Club in Memphis. Dinner the night before. Very simple. To benefit the Archbishop J. Peter Sarton Scholarship Fund, call Michael Jordan, 901-647-3014. They have opened up one more team. There's one more team, and I think you can still sponsor a flag or a hole. Be like our man David Aquadro, the milkman, has the milk distribution for all of the Mid-South. Love this guy. He's absolutely a team player. I know he's supporting, bought a whole sponsorship. So you can do it. They've raised over $60,000 so far. And we'll cover you a lot more on a lot of stuff happening throughout the show. Let's get Big Ben on here right now down in Savannah. And, you know, the hurricane came through that area not too long ago, didn't even scratch Ben. Ben is the Teflon man. Tough. He is. I love those beads, man. I don't know if he's if he loves deep sea fishing or not. He's just like the beachcomber, man. I love it. And he's always got the hat on, but this guy can flat out thank you and Buddy Martin, Franz Beard, Allie Peak Wilbur. The Gator folks are having fun, and y'all have not backed down. I don't know if you were in the Swamp Saturday, but that was just an incredible atmosphere. And I watched it with Audrey and a room full of people in a volunteer man cave of orange and white, and I ran out of Kleenexes. It was tough. It was, and the season's over. I'm like, no, it's not. Her brother's tough as nails. He's watching it. Kurt, Marine, 26 years, you know, and there's a picture of him, you know, in his Marine uniform when he's over in Fallujah. And I'm going, you know what? He can take anything. And I'm like going, guys, every week it's something different. But Ben, let's get your take on it. And that was a hell of an atmosphere.
It really, really was. A lot of former Gators in the house that day. Steve Harris and Lewis Murphy and, you know, a lot of guys, you know, Brandon Spikes obviously back on campus trying to get his degree. And I'm wishing him nothing but the best.
Yeah.
Him being in the building all week really, really served. That's not the reason that Florida won the game, but having a guy that's been through it that help, because sometimes as a current player, you don't understand the magnitude. Sometimes a player that's done it help you understand how big this game is. And I give Tennessee a lot of credit. I think sometimes when you look at what Heupel has done since he's been first couple of years, you know, at Tennessee, he's put the whole world on notice and say, look, if you ain't got a good defense to slow down my offense, it's going to be a long day for you. And obviously Tennessee comes in with a defensive line that's not being talked about enough. I think leading the SEC in sacks. Billy Napier goes into this game and says he can't say I need a signature win because his signature win thus far was the first game at Florida a couple of years ago against Utah. It hasn't really been a lot to go off of, but this Tennessee rivalry is one that, number one, you know, when you think about it, Rob, when the Pods come, I'm gonna hate to see this thing go. But Joe Milton, kind of fueled the fire early. I mean, and it's not that, it's not because of what he said. It's that when you say I don't lose in Florida. Listen, Tom Petty in the fourth quarter and all the lights and the LED lights and all the camera phones up.
Yeah.
It was electric. It really, really was. But I will say this. Tennessee brought out the best in Florida because you go into this game and the coaches say, look, fellas, if we don't handle our business, it could get ugly. And you want the Swamp to get back to being like a place that's hard to win in. And it was a great game top to bottom. Love the fact that we got one of them Etienne boys. I mean, that Etienne bloodline is serious. And Graham Mertz is a guy that
Real quick question, timeout. Now, we have a couple of Cajun men in our hunting club from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yeah. Blake Kleinpeter and Tanner Smith, kidding. Now, they say ATN, they say, no. The correct pronunciation is A-Sean. So from the Cajun men, A-Sean. Now, whatever, but that kid's a stud. I just say that. Go ahead.
No, he is. Billy Napier is a really, really good coach, man. And I think the one thing that Billy Napier has to get people to understand that patience is a virtue. It's not something we like when it comes to being college football fans or football fans in general. But the people will say, well, why do coach say pack the Swamp? Why do coach say it was a lot of timeouts being called on Saturday night. I mean, Joe Milton and company was saying, bro, I can't hear anything. Like, I really can't. And I got the coach talking to me in my helmet. But I said we were going to have to score in all four quarters, and we did. Had a really, really good second quarter. The D-line showed up for Florida big time. Sapp and Cam Jackson and those guys really, really came. I think the play of the game, to me, that goes unnoticed is the two-point conversion that Tennessee tried to run. They tried to run everybody in the end zone, and they tried to get Joe Milton to outrun our DN Princely to the sideline. And Princely, I guarantee you, said, I cannot let this dude, be able to come forward. To me, those are plays that you look back on the game because Joe Milton is no slouch, people. I mean, 6'3", 6'4", 240, can throw it from end zone to end zone, super duper talented. What that does, that's telling Joe Milton, my defensive end is ready to go blow for blow with you. And our linebackers, Shamar James and Scooby Williams and those guys did a good job. But I think all three phases played well. I don't think, and no, I see Rob Anderson saying, is Florida any better or is Tennessee much worse? No, you can't lose your mind because of one game, right? You can't, because there are people at Florida that were still saying, who is Florida? Are they Utah or are they, or are they McNeese State? They're both. That's why each week in football is its own chapter. Chapter 3, Tennessee. And football is that sport to where, I know what the Alabama fans would think something different with what almost went down to South Florida. The parity in college football is really, 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 really even. I know we get caught up in these recruiting rankings, right? You can't get for 25 players. You can't, and that's got to be broken up with quarterbacks, receivers, so on and so forth. There are really, really good players that go to other schools that got recruited by these big schools. But I think the player of the game for me wasn't Etienne. It was not the defense, even. I think it's Graham Mertz. Because the moment wasn't too big. This is a guy that said, look, I'm not going to give you these 350 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. He takes care of the football. He understands the situation, and he keeps us out of harm's way. That's what you want your quarterback to do. I got to run a game. I got a good offensive line. I got some solid guys on the outside. I can't throw the ball to the other team. And he didn't give it away. And let me say this about Joe Milton again. I respect Joe Milton. I respect him as a player, the way he grew up, go to Michigan, come to Tennessee. I think sometimes as fans, we need to lay off sometimes. We as full-blown, tax-paying, grown men coming at young men when you cannot do what he can do. You cannot be him. To be the starting quarterback at Tennessee is rough because you are, sorry, Ryan Tannehill, sorry, whomever the quarterback is at Vanderbilt or Memphis, you are the most famous person in the state. And that's taking nothing away from the Titans. It's a lot of pressure that comes on him, and with an offense that is built for him, he lost the game. And I get it. The last time Tennessee won at Florida was in 2003. How do I know? That was my senior year. That was the last time they won. Now, it's been a lot of ebbs and flows, but it was a great game. I don't like night games. Because I know, because look, you
as a player, you don't.
You either watching Florida, then you did the unthinkable. You go from Florida to Colorado. Some of us didn't go to bed till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. But it's why you love sports. No, Tennessee is fine. Tennessee is fine. We don't let folks from the Buck win if they're in the game. No, we got some Muck boys.
Did you see that?
I see that. From the Swamp Monkey to Everglades, we don't let.
You know who gives the Swamp Monkey? That's Allie Peak Wilbur gave that the other day. She goes, Tennessee's got to find a way to get the Swamp Monkey off their back. And then
we hope the Swamp Monkey becomes a Swamp Gorilla. But by the time,
but
I think Joe Milton and Coach Heupel and company understand this. When people used to say, "Man, it's different there," it's different when you. That doesn't mean you can't win there. It's different. Certain places is different. I played at Auburn. It's different. I played at LSU. It is different. You want that, and I think that's what you really saw. And like I said, Joe Milton can go back and say, "Look, man, sometimes watching the tape of a previous team ain't the team that steps out there on Saturday. Like what we saw, Utah, that's first game of the year. Everybody got first game jitters. Obviously, McNeese is going to be a lesser opponent, right?
Yeah.
But Tennessee should have known, hey, man, if y'all better than us, the whole world going to see it.
Yeah.
But as Herm Evans would say, Rob, it's not who you play. It's how you play on the day you play. It's not who. It's how. So I'm just happy for Billy Neighbor because now the seat ain't hot. It's still warm, but now he got to keep that momentum up.
Yeah, well, along the line of what you're saying, and we got a bunch of questions coming in. Shoney again down in Valdosta. Shoney in Valdosta is one of the smartest guys I know with this stuff. He's in Valdosta, went to Auburn with me, and we were talking the other day, our group, about a road trip we took in '86 to the Swamp, and Auburn was up 17-0. And the irony of the game, the whole thing was in 1984 at the end of the Iron Bowl, Robert McGinney, a walk-on kicker from Jupiter Beach, Florida, who wore these thick birth control glasses, and kind of a nerdy looking guy. He missed an easy field goal that could have won the Iron Bowl for Auburn and sent him to the Sugar Bowl. He missed it. And sadly, he was no longer a part of the team. I don't know what happened. He sat out in 1985. Well, Auburn's up 17-0 in the fourth quarter against the Gators in the Swamp. And the throw-in Mayoan, Kerwin Bell from Mayo, Florida, was the quarterback, a walk-on. And I'll never forget this. I remember in 1986, he'd been injured earlier in the season. And I said, mark my words, that son of a biscuit will be out there on one gimp leg and throw the winning touchdown or something. And so anyway, Ricky Nattil, great wide receiver, catches a fade route in the corner. Auburn's up, 17-10 or whatever. And Reggie Ware, Auburn fullback, number 36 from Huntsville, fumbles the ball. The Gators get it back, drive down. Who kicks the extra point in a 17-all tie? Robert McGinney. Gators win 18-17. And, it's just, it was, all I can say is several of us were thrown out of the stadium because of our reaction. I wasn't one of them, but that's the first time I'd ever seen people being forced to leave the stadium because they were too loud. But do you remember this?
Yes, absolutely.
Man, I'm going to tell you what,
it becomes you. Rob, what's crazy, Rob, too? Before I ever became, got recruited, because I didn't grow up, like I said, being from a small town and then going to a big city like Augusta, recruiting was foreign to me. Like I didn't grow up in my uncle Robert Troupe. He did go to have a scholarship to Fort Valley. Swainsboro, one of Swainsboro Tigers' greatest quarterbacks ever. But that's well before my time. So when I'm getting recruited, and people tell you stuff like they say it just ain't hit you yet, and you be like, what are you talking? I say, dude, once you get affected and infected by college athletics, like you just said, Rob, you can give me the date. You can tell me what you wore. You can tell me what you ate. You can tell me what you drove. You can tell me how many, because that's how infectious college football is. And I'm not taking nothing away from the other sports in college, like basketball, baseball, and so on. But football is one of those things that you go, football is the greatest what if. man, what if this would have happened? What if in the kick six, they would have just let the time go off the clock? Because whoever the time, the 1 second should have went off. But he goes, hey, let me give Nick Saban 1 second. And 10 seconds later, the greatest play ever, meaning I ain't rooting for Auburn or Alabama, right? But when that happens, I go, that'll make you want to never play football again. That'll never make you want to watch football again. Because you thinking, did Chris Davis just do what I think he did? Look, Chris Davis is a Auburn. Listen, there's only two people I know more famous than Chris. I mean, well, three. Well, four. Four people more famous. Charles Barkley, Frank Thomas, right? Cam Newton.
Yep.
Bo Jackson. That's it. That's it. Because listen, they said, hey man, they got a legends only meet. They said it's a dude named Chris Davis. Oh, let him in. What? Chris? Because I'm telling you, and I think that's the thing. Like when you walk on the field, and fans give you the greatest perspective of sport because they say things to help you understand. They'll say, hey man, you ready to create a memory today? Like, what you talking about? Dude, you could do something. All these plays you play, one play could be the difference. People remember that stuff. He said, but if you on the wrong side of it, they're gonna remember it. And that's football. Oh, and I gotta say this too, even though, listen, man, my prayers go out to Nick Chubb, man. I saw what happened.
Yeah, God. What?
Listen, my brother lives in Richmond Hill, and Nick Chubb's brother lives there, and I ain't met him yet. I just want to say, Nick, I am praying for you, sir, because I think nobody, I don't want to say nobody, but as far as like overcoming injuries, what happened against Tennessee, I never thought he would play again. And so I'm just wishing, I know he's gonna fight this thing like nobody's business, but I am praying for you, Nick. Man, it was hard to watch last night because people say you couldn't root for a better individual as a grown man. Oh, no. So but I'm praying for him. I'm rooting for him. Oh, and to the people that are sending death threats to the Colorado State player that hit Travis Hunter, I hope they lock y'all up. Do not be sending that young man death threats because he hit Travis Hunter. That is the part of life that I cannot stand. That young man made a play. It wasn't right, but death threats because he hit him. Come on now, that's nonsense. So whoever you are, player at Colorado State, man, I'm praying for you as well. I think sometimes, Rob, we don't understand that as people who have the voice of the people, we need to make sure we utilize. So, Nick Chubb, I'm praying for you, player at Colorado State that hit Travis Hunter, man. I hope whomever sending him death threats, I hope the proper authorities lock you up for it, because that's nonsense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Nick Chubb from Cedartown, Georgia. And you've seen the thing about Chubbtown. His family goes way back. Yeah. And again, I was at the Memphis Touchdown Club last night, and Alyssa Lang from SEC Network was there, and she does the show with Takeo Spikes, Out of Pocket, on Wednesday nights, and sideline reporter. She was fantastic, and so I got these texts from a lot of people, and then I didn't get home here last night till 9:30 or 10, and I did not see it. I got home. I had a bunch of work to do to get ready for the show. But what's the status on that injury? Was it a broken leg?
I think it's a torn up knee. I think his knee is all the way tore up, and he's gonna miss the rest of the season. He's gonna miss the rest of the season. Okay.
All right. Well, look, got another question here for you. And before we do it, I just got to do it because Ben, my son Wilson, and then Mallory and Audrey and all of us were at the last Tom Petty concert at the FedEx Forum in Memphis. And I think it was, it was probably May 11th of 2017. Ben, you're in the witness protection program. Are you there? We've lost Ben here. But anyway, that was one of the coolest things. Yeah, the last Tom Petty concert, May 11th, 2017, FedEx Forum in Memphis. Tom Petty comes out there, 19,000 people. We're right up by the front of the stage, had unbelievable seats in a friend's box at the Forum. Tom Petty comes out there and goes, all right, everybody, and we're going to kind of do like an old LP album. Anybody out here old enough to remember an LP album? Ben, are you old enough to remember an LP album? And he goes,
I probably am, but I still don't. I probably am, but I don't know what an LP album is.
And he goes, we're going to take that needle and just bounce all over our 40-year career as a band. And I mean, he played for about 3 hours. And so this, I saw him 3 different times playing the guitar, holding it with one hand and the other hand raised up in the air, getting the crowd into it. But this was the best. When they did this, it brought the house down. Hold on. Here we go. You remember this one?
Yes.
That might be one of the coolest things in college football.
It is.
And it's just, I mean, it's just when that crowd look. I don't care who you're a fan of. It was awesome.
Think about that though. You know, you Tom Petty, right? I don't even want to know what it's like to even want to be in the business of music or being a singer or a songwriter, like to even make it to the bigs. And then somebody goes, you know, every team known for they got something they known for. When they started doing the Tom Petty, right? It's almost like that becomes a part of the whole Swamp experience. It used to be, hey, I want to go see the Gators, and I want to do We Are the Boys. I want to see Mr. Two Bits. I want to see the Gators run out. Now you got something that is nationally recognized. It's not manufactured. It's not taken from somewhere. And the thing about, listen, when I used to play against guys in the league, they said, man, y'all fans is different, man. He said, y'all do the whole, he said, what's crazy is when y'all do the whole We Are the Boys in the fourth quarter, he said, we opposing fans, and y'all still trying to get us a sway. Y'all be hitting us or what? And he said, but the thing is, Tom Petty and the Won't Back Down, what makes it so incredible is there is no, hey, man, I'm finna go get a hot dog. No. And we about to do the Won't Back Down. You're not going anywhere. And think about a bunch of young men and women who knew nothing about Tom Petty, who go, now they have to go, now you got to go and listen to all his songs, not just this one. And I think that's what makes the pageantry of college football different, is because somebody go, it's like you walking in and say, y'all gonna do Won't Back Down today? What are you talking? We are contractually obligated to do Won't Back Down today. But I love it. Mr. Two Bits, Trey Burton. Trey Burton was Mr. Two Bits, right? Trey Burton, for people who don't know, he's Mr. Philly. He's the one that threw the touchdown pass to Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. That was Trey Burton. But I got to say this, Rob.
Wow.
When is your book coming out for all these Rob Browne memories? You got memories that people will want to, because what's going to happen is you start putting these memories out, and you can do it. You can date it, 1986, 87. Mm-hmm. There are going to be more people buy your book to say, I was there. I was in the same building, because you got some memories, man, to be able to say, because I think that's what Shannon Sharp said the best. He said, when it comes to sports, you go get 3 things. So when it comes to, he said, when it comes to your teammates, you're going to get respect. Right? When it comes to your head coach and your coaches, you want them to trust you. That's the only way you play. He said, and when it comes to the fans, you're going to get appreciation. You hope they appreciate. And to me, that's it. Like, as simple and plain, appreciation, trust, and respect. Anything outside of that is a bonus. And I'm just happy that this. Ramon Foster, offensive tackle for the Tennessee Vols, spent his whole career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Real good friends of mine. Real good friend of mine, man. Got the J. Martin and Ramon show up there in Nashville. When Tennessee beat Florida last year, he said, hey, man, they say alligator tastes like chicken. I guarantee you, Ramon wanted me on the show today. Listen, Ramon wanted me to come on the show today, right? I'm not going to come on, but he's going to have me back on. And Ramon knows, it could be Florida versus the Presbyterian College, in North Dakota. He knows as soon as I go on Rob, I'm going to say, man, hold on, man, I got to get the chicken out my teeth. Oh, that's right. Hey, I'm going to say something like, Ramon, hey, man, the reason why I ain't come on yesterday, I was volunteering at but to me, that's the part you love, is the trash talk. It's healthy. We don't mean nothing by it.
Oh, it is.
But it's great.
I love it. Hey, no, explain this to me real quick. Jacques Doucet is going to be on with us in just a second. WAFB Channel 9, 2-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year down in Baton Rouge. So get ready. We're going to be talking some LSU in a minute, Ben. This is another tradition of Florida's. I've been to the Swamp several times. I've been down there to Florida, one end to the other in that state many times. Spend a lot of time down there. Now this one, explain the old, we are the boys of Florida. Listen to this. Yeah. I mean, that is just awesome. I mean, and you listen, when you listen to those crowds down there, and I cannot imagine the emotions that poured out of a lot of people who have been frustrated, fans like, Buddy Martin, Franz Beard, Allie. I mean, Allie Peak Wilbur's got so much Gator blood in her that, her husband, her brother, her father played with Wilbur Marshall, great linebacker. There are two great Gator players that are probably in the Gator Hall of Fame, or at least the Ring of Honor, whatever y'all call it, from one high school in Florida in Titusville, Astronaut High School. Chris Collinsworth is one of them. The other one is Wilbur Marshall, the most badass linebacker I saw in college.
What? It's another one. We also played with
not Wes Chandler, was it?
No. It was Aaron Walker, the tight end I played with. He's from Titusville as well.
Wow.
So
Astronaut High School. How about that, man? I'm an idiot savant. My dad's right.
Hey, I said this. Ron Zook helped me understand this. He goes, some of the most interesting people play sport, but you got to be good at it for us to see what makes you interesting. He'll say, if you're good at it, okay, we'll kind of want to see what makes you tick. It's like Kevin Hart is a comedian. The Rock is a wrestler, but they also became movie stars. But they're great at what they're known for. The Rock looked for any opportunity to put on some makeup, a tight shirt, and his eyebrow to say, if he want to say, we are, and The Rock, I got to say this, The Rock, you picked the wrong team on Saturday, The Rock. You should have did what Pat McAfee did. Pat McAfee is a gem. He has on a white beater with a sport coat. Name a person that wants to come to work with a white beater. Don't even got no muscles. I mean, I'm sorry. He has on a tank top. I don't want to call it a tank top with the sport coat, and The Rock comes on there and says, "I'm going to go with Tennessee." Somebody should have said, "The Rock, do you know what do you even know what Knoxville is?" No, but you're going to pick them. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
But game day is great.
We're about to go to a break and bring in Jacques, Ben, so stay on with us. I like that from Jimi Hendrix in Ocala, Florida. Gators are starting something special. The essential Jimi Hendrix. I do love that line. All right, we're going to take a break, come back and talk LSU. We're going to talk SEC. It's just like getting the band up here. This is like Austin City Limits. So let's take a quick break and be right back with a bunch of college football talk. Get ready.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Ben, we're going to bring on Jacques Doucet. Now, this is another one of my favorite pregame moments. I love it. Let's bring on Jacques Doucet. I know he's been up since about 5 o'clock in the morning, probably knocked out 5 miles, been working out. Question is, what time did you get off work last night? Because I did TV for 2.5 years, and on the Eastern time zone, we never left the station till after midnight. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 in the morning, because right when you're leaving, the police scanner would go off and something would happen. And I was the youngest person there. They'd say, "Young Rob, would you go cover that?" Why, gladly, I will. How you doing?
Man, I was home pretty early. I was able to watch the end of the Saints game and watch the end of the other Monday night game last night. So our boss, Steve Schneider, he did the 10 o'clock news last night. But that's that Sunday shift, Rob. That's the one where CBS says we're going to join bonus coverage, and then the game goes into overtime, and every second, 60 minutes, death. Taxes, 60 minutes is going to air, okay? No matter what.
No matter what.
So you're going on late on that Sunday night show, sometimes 30, 40 minutes late, but it's all good.
Yeah. Hey, Ben Troupe's on here with us right now from ESPN Coastal, and Ben obviously played at Florida, and you probably remember him, and played in the NFL, and we've been talking about the Gators, and now we're going to talk about the Tigers. Already got a question here from Hokie in Natchez, Mississippi. Tigers are on fire. That's pretty obvious by what you saw Saturday. Were you in Starkville for that game?
Yeah, I was there.
What'd you think? What's your takeaway?
Well, it was one of the greatest performances in LSU football history in terms of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Daniels went 30 out of 34, 361. He targeted Malik Neighbors 13 times and hit him all 13 times for 239 yards. Fans may remember Rohan Davey at quarterback and Josh Reed, wide receiver, over 2 decades ago at Alabama. Josh Reed had 291 receiving in that game. Rohan threw for 528. But you can't really dominate a game any more than LSU dominated this game in terms of an SEC game on the road. It was 24-0 late in the first half, and LSU had outgained Mississippi State 294-7. I mean, State had 7 yards on their first 5 possessions. Mike Leach must have been looking down from football heaven saying, what the heck is going on? So Mississippi State, the Boo Birds were out early after the second possession. I mean, the fans were like, what is this offense? And so combination of LSU defense really getting after them, and then perhaps Mississippi State still being out of sorts. Will Rogers, a guy who's thrown for 11,000 yards, he doesn't look comfortable. LSU shut down the rushing attack, and then their offense, like I said, with Jaden and Malik and Brian Thomas in the passing game, just really went out there and dominated.
Yeah, we had the drive right after the show Saturday to Clarksville, Tennessee for brother-in-law's birthday, and the Vol Man Cave. It was a tough night for them, man. I said, look, the season's not over, but I listened to the LSU network. I love, I grew up, John Ferguson, Jim Hawthorne. I still, the new guy, but I know Doug Morrow. Doug Morrow's got this voice that's just, I love the LSU. You got to remember, I grew up listening, still do, AM 870, WWL New Orleans, the Clear Channel, and it goes all the way up, by the way, to Nova Scotia, where a lot of the, Cajuns came from, Halifax, Nova Scotia, and all that live in Louisiana. That's a special station, but nothing's better than when a hurricane's coming through, they'll do the live coverage, and they'll always have some guy like, all right, come on, Hokie, down there in Fort Morgan. When are you going to leave? We're going to stay. We got a boat out here. We're going to stay. I think we're going to make it okay. He's at every hurricane. He's like the couple they see after a tornado in a trailer park. Well, by God, I was on the toilet stool, and it come through here and just smelled like pine sol after that tornado come through. But anyway, unbelievable atmosphere. And Ben, you watched it, but I was listening to the LSU network. And until the last drive, I don't think Mississippi State had 130 yards total offense in the game. That was just total domination. And you're right. I bet you Will Rogers, He's had the last 2 games the worst stats of any game in his career since middle school in Rankin, Mississippi. And it ain't because he's not good. LSU had a lot to do with it, guys. I mean, they're on fire. I'm with Hokie.
It's gonna be dangerous because the thing about it is people want to talk about what LSU didn't do, against Florida State, right? LSU lost Florida State last year. What did they end up doing? Right? So I think for LSU team, what do they keep finding these receivers at? It's almost like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, that bum named Odell Beckham Jr. His partner in crime, and then you got Doucet, and these guys. They'll pluck them from somewhere. And the thing about Daniels say, okay, I get it. Everybody wants to talk about everybody but LSU. LSU was finding a way to get it done and get it done in the big. If Alabama is calling Jalen Daniels and saying, do you got a brother? Because I don't know who's quarterback in Alabama right now. I'm just saying that I just think for this LSU team, what they're learning to do is they're learning to just listen. We're not Alabama. Don't need to be. Texas A&M, we don't need to be. We just listen. We in a certain part of the country to where we dominate our part of the country. Nothing against the Saints, nothing against Derek Carr and company. LSU is, and I know they're an hour down the road in Baton Rouge. If you ever had etouffee, you ever had anything Cajun. If it didn't come from LSU, it's manufactured. If it didn't burn your whole mouth out, it's not real. I trained at Kenner, Louisiana, which is in New Orleans, and I'm telling you, listen. I don't know what was in my stomach, but I know crawfish was in there, a whole bunch of it. So I've never eaten crawfish a day in my life. When I go down there, I told the lady I ain't never had crawfish before. She said, "What you having?" She stuck her hand on my chest and said, "You ain't never had crawfish, baby? Sit down." She was dumping the stuff on my table, and I said, I can't eat this much. She said, "You can eat this." I'm just love Louisiana, the people from the boot. But look, LSU was doing it. I think what's gonna make them dangerous is. People just expected them to go quietly in the night because of what happened in Florida State. It's the first game of the year, and it was a real opponent. Florida State has turned out to be pretty freaking good right now. I think LSU knows, hey, man, we in the driver's seat. You know who's nervous? Nick Saban. He better be, because I'm telling you, forget the fact that they're not playing good offense. They ain't playing good defense either. The only reason why they won on Saturday because the quarterback from USF was surprised that they were still in the game in the second half. If he knew, hey man, I know that's tough. That's them. That's Nick Saban. I just think that for me, LSU is the team not named Georgia in the West that's running the West right now. Because I don't know who the quarterback. They got a guy named Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. I don't know who the hell he is. I mean, he don't even know who he is. He's an artist formerly known as. We're a lot of years moved to 2013, right? And I just think that LSU is dangerous because they understand. Everybody licked their wounds from week one. Nobody's the same since week one. Nobody. LSU doing what they did, and you can say, "Oh, Mississippi State, they down right now." No, LSU is up. That's how bad they made. Because Mississippi State, they'll find a way to get some dubs, but that air attack, it just ain't there right now. But yeah, they're doing it. Run the football with it. They got to run the quarterback in Daniels. They got a freaking name Malik. That's going to be the next great one at LSU. Most guys won't catch 13 balls. In a season, he caught 13 balls in a game. Shout out to them Snithers. Shout out to them Tigers. From them that spell go. How they spell it? Geaux.
Yeah, I'm right. Geaux.
I'm just saying. I've been there a time or two. But shout out to LSU, man. Unfortunately for us, they're peaking early. I hope that Daniels kind of get a call for something before he play my Gators. Because if he playing like that, it's gonna be a long day. For my Gators, man. But shout out to them LSU boys, getting back on track.
Well, this year it's going to be unique there in the schedule because LSU is going to play Florida the week after LSU plays Alabama. And so in the past, LSU would always play Arkansas the week after the Alabama game. So that's going to be in a unique spot for LSU to have to get their feet back on the ground. I would imagine there's going to be a ton of hype before the LSU-Alabama game, as there always is. But you guys know we try. We think we're smart. We watch week 1 and week 2, and we try to come up with these big sweeping judgments and knowledge. And Florida, they stink. They went to Utah, they couldn't do anything, and then Tennessee goes into the swamp and they get knocked out. And I would think that the same thing with Alabama. We're all drawing a bunch of conclusions. Maybe they're right. Oh, they don't have a quarterback. They're going downhill. But I got a feeling that by the time LSU goes to Alabama in November, little Nicky's going to have a few things figured out, and they're going to be playing a lot better than they are right now. So, hey, look at Ole Miss, man. They got Alabama this weekend, and if they can somehow win that game, they've got LSU coming to Oxford. They might be thinking, hey, man, why not us? You know, we can do this thing.
I mean, everything that you do just positions you for the next game. And so the way you end the game, even if you lose it, if you go off the field with your heads hanging, beaten, you'll get beat 2 weeks in a row by that same damn game. I'm watching old LSU Saturday, and he's right about these receivers. Malik Neighbors, I mean, that is an unbelievable statistic, 13 catches. Again, Ben's right. There are a lot of receivers, at least if you look at Auburn, may not catch 13 in their career, especially if they're a tight end. I mean, that's such an underutilized position. But with LSU, Jacques, what about the running game? How good is this running game? You got a couple of 5-star running backs on that roster that it's time. You know, don't wait to be great, son. I need you now. Kickoffs in 5 minutes?
Well, they're trying to figure it out. They got 8 scholarship running backs, and the guy that's emerged kind of as the front, the bell cow, so to speak, has been Logan Diggs, who is from New Orleans. He went to Notre Dame to play for Brian Kelly. He's now back in Louisiana. The big highlight film that everyone saw was Caleb Jackson, the freshman, trucked that Mississippi State guy in the second half, knocked him like into the dirt. And so everyone get all excited about that. And Brian Kelly's like, look, yes, he's got big physical strength, but he's still kind of learning like the rules of football, and he's still, you know, pass blocking and stuff like that. The things that as fans we get all excited about, a guy running and trucking guy, but what does he do in pass pro? You can't get the quarterback killed, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So John Emery, John Emery has been just this up and down roller coaster. He was a 5-star out of high school. He committed to Georgia initially. He came to LSU. He was a freshman on the 2019 team. He missed the entire 2021 season because of academics. He's missed the first 2 games of the last 2 seasons because of academics. They tried to work him in this past weekend. It didn't, not great results. Josh Williams still there. Trey Bradford, the guy who caught the long pass out of the backfield, first play of the game against Florida State, he's kind of vanished. So, we'll see. But this is not your typical Les Miles, turn around, hand to Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis. They don't have a quote-unquote, bell cow that they're going to carry 20-25 times. They're going to do this running back by committee thing again. So we'll see how it works out.
Ben, as a player, when you switch quarterbacks a lot, every quarterback will tell you the cadence is different for the lineman. And as a tight end, you're an extension of the offensive line, but you're an eligible receiver. What about running back by committee as a blocker? Did you like that? Or do you like that approach? Because it's more and more, you're not seeing these running backs that want to carry the ball 35 or 40 times a game. The message seems to have gotten down from the NFL. Look, your average career for a running back's 3 or 4 years. If you want to have 8 or 9, don't play as much in college. So maybe that's good for playing time.
Yeah, and that's kind of a new thing now. I mean, even if you got a bell cow, you want to have somebody that can come in. You have like a third down back or, maybe like a guy that's going to be a short yardage back. But I think the thing about having different running backs makes you a better player because you block different for every last one of them. They all hit the A-gap. They don't hit the A-gap the same. Some guys like to bounce. Some guys like to run in between the tackles. Some guys like to run in. But I think for me, if you ask a running back, man, how you want me to set this guy up? They can tell you. I mean, just set him up a little bit. And those are the guys that really understand their strengths. I mean, I played with Ernest Graham and Robert Gillespie and, Seatric Faison and Deshaun Wynn. Every last one of those guys was different, right? Yeah. But it also shows, too, that they count on you as a frontline blocker. When you're a tight end, and I love him, you either Jimmy Graham, you're on the backside. Every time Jimmy Graham's in the game, he's on the backside. And Jimmy Graham don't mind that. Or you could be, George Kittle, right? Travis Kelce said the reason why I'm not the best tight end in football is because I'm great in the passing game. I just run block. George Kittle he's the best in the game because he doesn't lack anything. And I think the thing about, I didn't realize that being a better blocker helps me be a better pass catcher because they don't think, oh, he's just in here to get out in the route. So when it comes to different running backs, it forces, because that's what O-linemen do that. Y'all just don't see them doing it because they block every play. They will block they'll look back and see who's coming in. Okay, do I got to adjust my stance? But it's weird not seeing LSU not have a bell cow. Because you're talking about guys. I mean, guys backed up Leonard Fournette. That's the backup. That's cheating.
Yeah.
So guys is the backup to Leonard Fournette. That's like, I don't know, Ronnie Browne being the backup to Cali. That's cheating. You got that kind of talent backing guys up. But LSU, just like you said earlier with Alabama, by the time they play Alabama, I bet you they're gonna have one. By the time they play them, they're gonna have a bell cow.
Yeah.
Because people talk about that 2019 team, right? And I get it. You got Marshall, you got Jefferson, you got Chase. No, you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That was the problem. You could not deal with that little guy because he could catch it out the backfield, 1,500 yards. So to me, that's what now LSU ain't lacking. I mean, they ain't lacking anything. But continuity with the offensive line is something you want because running back by committee means whoever got the hot hand that day. So whoever got the hot hand, you're going to get more touches. That's not a game plan. That's more of LSU is not a throw, let's throw something at the wall, see what sticks. No. You guys got 5 stars next to your name, most of you. But that don't mean you're gonna go out there and prove it. By the time they play LSU, I guarantee Coach Kelly gonna say, let me go to the running back meeting room and tell him, you the guy. You the backup. Well, injuries happen. That's football. But yeah, I did like the running back by committee. Like I said, the only time I ever called my shot was my senior year against Arkansas. We coming out to we gonna down the ball. I tell Jacques Faison, C4, man, break a tackle. I meet you. You hit your head on the end zone. We ran a sweep to the right. It was not because of me, by the way. I'm just in the way. That boy took it 80 yards, right? He took, but the thing about it is I'll take a great running game over a great passing game any day because great running game, that's bludgeoning people. That's punching people every single play. And if I can get 6 yards in the first quarter, that's gonna be 60 in the fourth because they're gonna get tired of getting leaned on. And like I said, I know we in the world of the Steve Spurrier wide open passing game, right? But what happens when they shut down your receivers and you got to run? Running, you throw the ball to score, you run the ball to win. That's what that is football at the end. Because if it's 4 minutes left in the game, we got to bleed the clock. Well, if we got 30 running backs to bleed it, who can bleed it, right? I want a guy that want to do the tough yards. That I said, listen, man, coach, put me in on 31. Put me in first and goal. Put me in the screen game. If you want to look at the best, I hate to give them credit. I got this, the analyst in me. When it was Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, right? Those guys were the 2 guys, right? DeAndre Swift was the 3rd guy. And the two front runners knew that. I think that's what college football is becoming. Give me 2 bell cows and give me a Swiss Army knife on 3rd down. And you got a shot to be really good because it ain't but one football. And that ain't Patrick Mahomes out there just throwing it around. Yeah. Ain't but so many touches, and they got receivers catching 13 balls. Yeah. Ain't but so many opportunities left. But I think LSU gonna figure it out. I like running back by committee, and I don't like the way running backs are used. I don't like to say, oh, you don't want to pay them in the NFL, and you don't even use them too much. I don't believe in giving one guy 30 carries, but give him 15, and with a mixture of run and pass, because. I mean, you 20 years old, man. Your bones still fresh, man. You can still eat a bunch of candy and not gain no weight. You don't need to. It's like this is the best years of your life. If we don't listen, the only 6 positions on the field that don't come off is the 5-0 lineman and the quarterback. They play every single play. Everybody else, you're interchangeable. So let them young boys figure it out. And like I said, by the time they play Florida, if they ain't figured it out yet, we can live with that too. Just keep on trying to figure out what you're trying to be.
Well, and Jacques, along the line, what he's saying, here's something from Chip in Jackson, Mississippi. The Tigers deep enough on the offensive line to get to the college football playoff. What do you think? I mean, you're there every day. You see the ins and outs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What limited practice time you get?
Yeah, well, they're in a much better spot than they were a year ago. Certainly, Will Campbell and Emory Jones were true freshmen last year, got baptized by fire, started. I had a chance to interview, some LSU offensive linemen who are perhaps the greatest of all time, and Alan Faneca and Andrew Whitworth and Todd McClure, and they all said, hey, I can't imagine being a true freshman being thrown out there. I mean, none of those guys played as true freshmen, not to that extent. So, you got a new guy in Lance Hurd, who's a very talented young man who went to the same school as Will Campbell, and they added Mason Lunsford, a young man from Maryland out of the transfer portal. So, I think they feel a lot better about offensive line now than they did a year ago. Brad Davis is the offensive line coach. He's done a great job. He's bounced around the country. He was a nomad for many years, a Baton Rouge native who played on the Oklahoma 2000 national championship team and finally made it back to Baton Rouge. This is his dream job. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He actually used to work for Arkansas, who LSU plays this week. And so, I just think the key is improving every week and, not getting caught up in the fact that, hey, you're an 18-point favorite this weekend against Arkansas. The last 3 times LSU's played Arkansas, it's been decided by 3 points. So, once you start peacocking and think that you've arrived, that's when this game humbles you. So,
No, I was going to say, here's another. I'm curious your thoughts on Arkansas. Usually by game 2 or 3, that's pretty much who you are for the season, Jacques, and I think you would agree, Ben. So looking at Arkansas Saturday against BYU, they had a really tough time in the fourth quarter. KJ looked lost. Dan Enos, hell of a quarterback coach. A lot of Hog fans. I'm getting a lot of people right now saying the play calling is terrible and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I guess the biggest concern that I have is, the Hogs, you're right. It's always darkest before dawn. They can't play any worse than they did in the fourth quarter. And that I would take Arkansas. I love to bet. I love these lines. I like Arkansas to cover, but I look for LSU to win.
Yeah.
Fair assessment, Jacques.
Yeah. Well, I love Sam Pittman. I think he is a, salt of the earth, great guy, great coach. And they had a game last week. They were up 31-21 in the second half, and they just went silent and lost the game 38-31 to BYU and had a chance to be 3-0. And so now, I wouldn't be surprised, if LSU wins it by 17, that means they didn't cover, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Jaden Daniels continues to push the ball down the field and, if the defense continues to show up and play like they've played. But, I don't know. KJ Jefferson, it's funny. The first start I think he ever made at Arkansas was in 2019 against LSU. And poor guy. That was LSU's 2019 national championship team. I think they were up 55-7 or something like that at one point. So it'll be interesting. It's always been kind of a quirky thing. Arkansas has been in the league for 30 years. Are they really an SEC team after all these years? Do they feel more like a team like Missouri, in a different conference? They make a big deal. It's funny, Rob and Ben, Arkansas views that boot thing as this awesome thing. If we can win the boot, that gaudy trophy, that's the gold, and it's in the shape of Arkansas and Louisiana.
Yeah.
LSU thinks that thing is a joke. Like, they think it's ugly and gaudy, and usually when LSU wins it, the bench warmers go pick it up and walk off the field with it. But Arkansas is like, oh, this is our biggest game of the year. And the LSU goes up there, it's our biggest home game, and so Arkansas views this game a lot more passionately than LSU does. It's like, okay, it's Arkansas. But, they respect them, but at the same time, it just doesn't generate like when LSU plays Florida or Alabama or Auburn. Still after 30 years, the LSU-Arkansas game just doesn't generate that kind of emotion, I don't think.
Yeah, you when you talk about rivalries, Arkansas's got they can't. That's not a rivalry with Missouri. They can't make that into a rivalry. I think they're looking forward to getting Texas in the league, though. And even though they're right on the border with Oklahoma, they've only played 15 times since 1892. But I think it'll be a hell of an atmosphere Saturday. But it's a night game. LSU has been waiting for this opportunity, and I'm just seeing this team the way they play. And Ben, I love what you said about the running back by committee. We're seeing more and more of that. Jacques, another question before we let you go. I know you got a big day ahead of you. Do you do the 6 o'clock and the 10 o'clock? You don't do, there's nothing earlier than that, but what's your typical day? 15 hours, 18 hours? That Saturday, I know it is. I'm sure.
Yeah, Saturdays are longer. We do sports at 6 and 10, and we've got 3 or 4 guys that work in the sports department. So I might just put together a couple of pieces and not anchor the news. But that's kind of the way it goes. Ben, when did you play in Florida?
2000 and 2003. I had Spurrier's first 2 years, Spurrier's last 2 years, and Zook's first 2 years.
Okay, so Ben is responsible for hanging an L.
Yes. I was about to say that. 2003, LSU lost one game in Tiger Stadium to an 18-year-old by the name of Chris League, who turned out to be a bum, right? And but I will say what stood out about LSU is that student section. They let them in way too early. I said, look, the game won't start for about another 2 hours. Then people run out that tunnel, and I some of them freshmen was like, the freshmen told us, we seniors, they go, they allowed to say that to us? Are they saying it? Yeah, they're allowed to say it. They're not allowed to not talk to us like that. But no, LSU was one of the best places to play, man. Every time I see Marcus Spears on TV, I say, man, I didn't block him in college. I stood in front of him, and he won them 84. And I know he was a hell of an athlete at tight end, played basketball and all that kind of stuff. But LSU, man, it's always been a thorn in my side, man, because I say these dudes, man, LSU is the one team. If they really, really good, they gonna beat. They came to the Swamp my junior year, and that was Zook's first year. They were beating the hell out of us so bad that Rex Grossman started calling plays when Spurrier was there. Like, bro, we ain't even got this play. It just had gotten out of hand. But no, I've always respected LSU. The guys, guys like Ryan Clark and different ones that went there, man. Some of my really, really good friends with LSU. So, yes, Georgia lost one game in 2002. LSU lost one game in 2003. Both by them boys from Gainesville. No, I didn't win a national championship. But whenever Marcus Spears and company talk about LSU and winning the Natty, I'm going to say, who did y'all lose to in 2003? You can be like, I was at that game. Oh, and the 2 touchdowns that were scored were by committee. It was Rand Carthon, the current general manager for the Tennessee Titans, and Cedric Faison. So the only 2 touchdowns that were scored were by our running backs by committee that game.
Chris Leak out of Independence High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hell of a quarterback. Yeah. And hey, Doug Dean, AU docent Birmingham, Jacques, he is a huge part of this show. And he is on here. He goes, I want to get on and banter a little bit with Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9 folks. Catch him in Baton Rouge. And by the way, October 15th, Doug, he's releasing a this is one of the best guys in America. He's releasing another one of his documentaries on Cecil the Diesel Collins from guess where? Leesville, Louisiana. You remember him, Doug?
Oh, yeah. Well, you got the heavyweights on here this morning, Rob. Ben, wipe that smile off your face, Ben. And hey, Jacques, am I pronouncing that right? Is Jacques, or do you hear? Is the S silent on your first?
It's Jacques.
Yeah, the S is silent. Yeah, the great Dale Browne, LSU men's basketball coach, one time he goes, "Why the S?" So yeah, it is Jacques.
I'm an English major, and so I have nothing to do with that degree. I was unemployable and unhireable. So you learn to write and you enjoy communicating. But in the immortal words of the great Mark Twain, rumors of LSU's demise in Tallahassee were greatly exaggerated, Jacques.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, it's a long season. Last year they lost to Florida State because they couldn't kick an extra point. This year it kind of spiraled out of control and they got smashed. But if the West appears to be a bit wide open, and if the LSU Tigers can win it and make it to the SEC championship game, then we'll go from there and see what happens.
Well, and boy, it's so dangerous doing what I call doing linear projections of things. College football is an oblong-shaped ball played with emotional 18 and 19-year-olds who are highly unreliable. Am I right? And it can drive you crazy. It can cause you to have hair loss and financial loss. That's why I don't wager. But if I do, I'm going to start turning to your wisdom, Jacques. But I'm excited for LSU. Me and my buddies will be there on October 14th when the Auburn Tigers come to Death Valley. And I want to see Auburn play. This weekend will be a good pressure test with that Petrino offensive brain trust. I don't mean to leave Jimbo out, but there's a reason he hired Bobby. And versus a Ron Roberts defense, that creeper defense, Rob, we like to talk with simulated pressures and replace blitzes. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch in College Station. So I'm hoping Auburn shows a pulse. And when we make that short ride from Birmingham it's going to be New Orleans, the Hotel Mazarin, I think it's called. We'll a real easy drive over on game day. Can't wait. And I'm really heartbroken that we'll have to wait a while for Auburn LSU to play again starting next year.
I hate that. I'm with you. And Jacques, I love it. At least, I have an E on the end of Browne. And I looked that up years ago. It's one of the 14 tribes of Galway, the Irish tribe, and you go to Galway Bay and Clifton and Roundstone, you'll see Browne with an E everywhere. But over here, what I get a lot of, Mr. Brownie, I'm like, no, the E is silent. And they go, Mr. Silent E. No, it's Browne with an E. The E is silent. But I can imagine being pulled over by some state trooper in Duck Hill, Mississippi. Mr. Jacques, Doucet, they got to be cultured. But I'm going to tell you what, Jacques, I know you got to get going. Awesome stuff as always. The documentary, I got the teaser. Doug, I need to send you Jacques, could you send that teaser to me again? Sure. I want to send that to Doug and Frank Duffy and everybody. But you are doing what local sports guys, a lot of them, I think now just feel like, oh, it's all national. There's nothing better than local media people to drill down on what's going on with their school. Brendan Martin told me that, Buddy's son, the other day, Ben, about it. That's what people crave. That documentary, just what I saw of it and the people you interviewed, that's incredible stuff. And thank you for doing it. And thank you for taking time to join us this morning. Cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. Got a ton more questions I couldn't get to from LSU people, but we really appreciate you.
Yeah, well, real quick, over the years, my sports director, Steve Schneider's done a great job of doing an archive system, keeping all this stuff from the 80s and the 90s. And, ESPN has called us, and quite frankly, we've sold video to them in the past to make the Shaq Dale Brown documentary, to make the Skip Bertman documentary. Yeah. And, we had this stuff, and I just thought to myself, Cecil Collins is a fascinating story that a lot of LSU Tigers have talked about. And when Booger McFarland said he's the best running back he's ever seen, and he played all those years in the NFL, one thing led to another. And if they can do something on Marcus Dupree, the greatest who never was, then I certainly thought that Cecil Collins is LSU's version of that, because he only played in 3.5 games at LSU. But as Auburn fans remember, in 1997, he ran for 200 and almost 40 yards against them. And then, eventually spent 13 years in prison. It's a very powerful story, and that we're going to tell with that on October the 15th. But I appreciate you having me on, and it was great to visit with all three of you.
Yeah, and how do they keep up with you on social media and all your stuff?
At Jacques Doucet, JACQUES DOUCET. Our station is WAFB.com. And, Jacques, I used to get jokes about Jacques Cousteau, but you tell that to the interns, they don't even know who that is. So, Jacques Strap, Jacques Itch, I heard everything with my name growing up, Rob.
Hey, I love having you on here, man. Thanks so much. Have a great one. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back for HR-2 on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you. And I know Jacques had to go, and Ben also had to go. Ben had to be on another show here at 5 after, so appreciate his time with us, and Jacques as well. And I just sent you the teaser on the documentary about Cecil the Diesel, and want to play just a little segment of this right now. And remember some of this stuff. This is a quick little snippet, Doug, and then I want to get to some stuff.
Yeah.
He's the most impressive running back I've ever seen in person. Modern day Earl Campbell. Best running back I've seen.
This is a special back, Cecil Collins. That guy was everything and some. Collins brings it up the middle, and he will score. I wonder how long it's going to take the stadium to be filled with 34 jerseys.
And bottom line is that the teaser is about 1:15, but it's coming up October 15th. And Doug, we all remember him that Auburn game in 97. You know what the irony was? Auburn's leading back in 97 in the SEC championship game when they played Tennessee had rushed for 267 yards for the year. I think it was Rusty Williams, a running back, number 5 out of Moncks Corner, South Carolina. I think it's a small community of monks outside of Charleston, but I still remember that game, Doug, like it was yesterday. I mean, that's what is so cool about what Jacques Doucet does, what Ben talked about, playing in that 2003 LSU game with Cedric Faison. That this is what is so cool about college. It just evokes memories and triggers passions in our brains. You have a memory like a steel trap. Your AU dose stuff that you put out, it chronicles everything, but what you do is you make sense out of it instead of I always say taking a drink of water from a fire hydrant. Let's talk about this Auburn team. They're 3-0, and you mentioned the creeper defense that started at Delta State years ago with Ron Roberts, home of the Fighting Okras.
What is their name?
The Fighting Okras, and they have the best looking souvenir T-shirts. It's an okra with his fists up in the air. An okra, it's a piece of okra, and it's the Fighting Okras.
Is their moniker?
Do what?
You're dead serious.
I'm serious. It's the Fighting Okras.
Man, I can get on board with that as long as it's fried okra, Rob.
Absolutely. I don't like it when it's boiled and mushy.
Oh, I know. Same. And I'd like to go to a movie and instead of popcorn, have a big bucket full of fried okra and just eat it one nugget at a time.
Yeah.
And claim that you've met your vegetable quota that day. So yeah, I'm glad that Jacques Doucet, man, he's embraced the French Cajun component of his zip code down there. I love it. And it's funny that I've forgotten their name, but there's 2 really rowdy guys that are cigar smoking LSU fans. And after every LSU game, they break it down from this cigar bar somewhere in probably Baton Rouge. And they were miserably pissed off, obviously, the night after that FSU game. And LSU just didn't look like they brought the fight that the Noles did. But it's they woke up in Starkville, didn't they?
They did. LSU came to life, and I think what I saw out of Jaden Daniels was 27 of 31 passing.
Yeah.
One of the most dominant performances. And we talked about that you got to go back to Josh Reed and Rohan Davey, the throw-in Rastafarian from Hialeah, Florida, great quarterback. And that's the thing that gets me is just when you think LSU is going to struggle, and people thought that after the first game, and you thought Florida State was just going to run through the ACC without a fight, look what happened. The 11 a.m. timeout game, LSU curb stomps Mississippi State, and Florida State is up 31-10 in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, hangs on to win 31-29. Isn't that what we love about college football?
It is, and this is one of those years more. It seems like the last 3 or 4 years, maybe longer, what we all have kind of seen early in the season is that whether it was Alabama or last 2 years Georgia, there was going to be one team that almost certainly was going to dominate and likely go undefeated. Alabama tended to have one loss, but it didn't matter. They'd get in it and win it. Now this year, it's really, gosh, Rob, I don't think there are 15 or 20 teams that could make the playoff and win it all. Actually, there might be 15 or 20 as we sit that have a legit chance to be among the four. But if you talk about, getting to the championship game and winning it, it probably narrows to, and for my eyes at this early stage, 5 or 6 teams, maybe 7 or 8. And man, parity, if you like parity, we got a dose of it this year, a heavy dose of college football parity this year. And going back to what Jacques said about Cecil the Diesel, I still have PTSD, post-traumatic Cecil, PTCD, Cecil Diesel syndrome, derangement syndrome from that 97 Auburn LSU game, which to me, Rob, is, although they weren't necessarily playing for all the marbles or anything overly big, Auburn did end up making the SEC championship game against Tennessee that year. But that game was wildly underrated as one of the great back and forth college football games in SEC football history. Auburn jumps out to 14-0 lead. If I remember, I was sitting in that end zone when they threw it to Hicks Poor. Remember him?
Oh yeah,
little possession guy. But then LSU roared back. Auburn had no answer for Collins going into halftime, and Damian Craig ends up making a beautiful clutch drive, getting Auburn down to inside the red zone, and that little unheralded back you were talking about, Rusty Williams punches it in from the 1 yard line, and as I think we've talked about on your show, the great Bill Oliver, who was Bowden's defensive coordinator that game, would say later, if we didn't have Takeo Spikes, Cecil the Diesel would have run for 500 yards. So that's a fun one to always keep in the memory bank. And I'm so happy for Takeo that he's getting all the limelight and getting to be an analyst of college football on SEC Network. We'll have to get him on the show soon, Rob.
I'd love to. In fact, I was at the Touchdown Club of Memphis meeting last night, and Alyssa Lang was there, and we talked with her a lot. I asked a question, and then we talked with her afterwards. She was wonderful. She's really good, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Said she grew up a Hokie fan. Both her parents, Virginia Tech graduates, went to many games at Lane Stadium, and she did local news and all, worked her way up. She's really good. And I said you and Takeo Spikes together really complement one another. You're kind of the straight man, straight lady, and Takeo looks like he's about to tee off and just take somebody out. I mean, he is so cool and so intense, and he's got a football mind that is just incredible. And his ability to break stuff down is what I appreciate the most about him.
Well, what you always admire is, it's one thing for some of the guys, Dari Noka and some of these guys that Herb Street and Reese Davis, these guys that were literally trained at their craft, trained broadcasters, probably without us knowing, worked with a speech pathologist, really worked on inflection and all those things that is a skill. So it's doubly impressive when you see a warrior like Takeo, and I forgot the name. I'm a fan of the former Florida wide receiver that's on SEC Network a lot.
Chris Doering.
Yeah, Doering is great. I love
Yeah.
his style. But when those Warriors, and especially Takeo, who had a long career in the NFL, he's been in the wars. And when he can take all of that knowledge crammed in his head, and even not just the knowledge in terms of brain matter, but he knows what it feels like physically to be in those games where you just don't have much of anything left in the gas tank late fourth quarter, and you find a way to dig down. But then he's taken that and he's developed a high degree of polish going on air. It's not just how you look, but how you weave a story and how you pick the right details, and you can translate it into what the average fan can understand. So I'm really proud of Takeo, and we're getting some good analysis from both of those big SEC Network and ESPN so far this year. You know, what's on my mind this weekend, Rob, it starts to get real. As kids like blank just got real. If you're Auburn, that's so intriguing going on the road. It's to me, the question that is going to be the most interesting for me is I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about what Ron Roberts does defensively. And why are we surprised? If you look at football as a copycat game, Rob, and no surprise that you see a lot of Ron Roberts' so-called creeper defense, and there's a lot of other things he does that he lets the safety call the defenses and get everybody in position, which is interesting because I would think there would have been loud environments. That's what is that, 5, 10, 15 yards distance between the safety and the down lineman. So I think that communication aspect of getting lined up is interesting when you're on the road. But listen to Ron Roberts coaching. It's almost like that is it Genesis? I forgot. So-and-so begat, so-and-so begat. And Ron Roberts is responsible for mentoring Dave Aranda, who would later be the Baylor head coach that would show Ron Roberts the door. This happens in coach. Sometimes you need a sacrificial lamb. Pete Golding, and I realize Alabama fans did not lament his departure from Alabama to join Kiffin's staff. But Golding has had some big moments and is still highly regarded by most defensive minds out there. But Golding got his start at, you said it earlier, Delta State, right? When Ron Roberts hired him as a GA. Also on the Ron Roberts tree, Austin Armstrong, the Florida DC, Brian Browne, the Cincinnati defensive coordinator, Carl Scott, the Seattle Seahawks DB coach and co-defensive coordinator, and then Patrick Toney, who's the Arizona Cardinals defensive back coach. And there's others you could name, but Ron Roberts has seen it all. And, you know, it's 3 games, and we haven't played a Texas A&M yet. But Auburn sits number 1 nationally in red zone defense at .42, number 4 nationally in third down conversion defense, .244, and then 14th nationally in total defense. They're holding opponents to 264 yards. Georgia is just behind them, 1 spot at 15th. That I fully realize those stats will get obliterated when we start playing real opponents, which starts this Saturday. But once they get a full complement of talent and it's on its way, I couldn't be more elated about what Roberts brings to the table.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with him, and I had been reading about him for several years. And you remember an example of Jeff Lebby was still on the Ole Miss staff in that Sugar Bowl game a couple of years ago with Matt Corral. They completely stymied and stuffed and shut down that Ole Miss offense. And what the creeper defense is designed to do is to confuse RPOs. So it's a lot of fun. I like the comment here from Sharon Jean Mercer. I guess that's Roy D's wife. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Auburn's 4-1 all time in College Station. And an aside that I'll add, Doug, when Auburn went out there in 2021 with the aforementioned Brian Harsin as the coach, they were 6-2. And they had no offense that day. Auburn lost like 20-3. It was a disastrous fourth quarter. And Auburn football hasn't been the same since then. It really hadn't been the same since Christmas Eve of 2020 when
Yeah.
Brian Harsin was announced Christmas Eve. This is the Auburn football coach. Oh, I try not to. But anyway, that's an opportunity for Auburn to go out there. You're right. 11 a.m. I like it. It favors the visiting team, Doug. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and you can overplay those things. Like if you, all things being equal, I would rather put the pressure on the home fan base, the home crowd, to have to shake off. I guess they still do the help me, Rob, but the midnight yell at College Station. So if it's indeed at midnight, you still there, Rob? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I'm just looking at your questions that you sent me, and
we'll get that.
yeah.
If they do the midnight yell and have a couple of toddies late at night, there's some. I don't know about the student section. They're going to show up, but it would be normal and not surprising that you have a slightly late arriving crowd, and that's a huge stadium. But if I know the Aggies, that I think they want to cheer this team on to a win over Auburn. This is not a great Auburn team, but that would be a big positive step. And it's to me, it's a must win. It is make or break for the Aggies, if you ask me, because of the fire that Jimbo is under, having lost that Miami game in the fashion they did. It's and you were going to ask me, is this a make or break game for Auburn, Rob?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I think you just asked me that.
Yeah.
So here's my take on that. It can be a make game. It's not make or break. Hugh Freeze did not have to win this one. Auburn fans are excited about the trajectory of the program. They understand that recruiting is going way ahead of schedule if they can hang on to the commitments they've got and add some others, and I think they will. If you go win it, man, the headline will be Hugh Freeze is way ahead of schedule. The headline for the negative writers, of course, will be, is Jimbo Fisher in deep jeopardy? And of course, he could be. It's early season. They'll play it out. I don't see them replacing him mid-season, but he will have enormous pressure with 2 losses, having to go finish the year with some big wins. Or otherwise, I think Fisher's not back. So I think it can be a make game for Hugh Freeze and his staff, but it's not doesn't break anything if they happen to lose it, because I think they still have 7 wins in them if they keep improving. Yeah. And I'm not even conceding an 8-win season, even if they lose against Texas A&M.
Doug, I'm getting a lot of questions on here. Again, can't type them in as fast as they come in. One question that really caught me was the intrigue about Ron Roberts. Makes both the Bama versus Ole Miss and AU versus Texas A&M games intriguing. Now, this is something that from you that you put in this morning early, but let's talk about that, because people need to get a clear picture of what's at stake there.
Well, and thank you for the question. And I hope, I think you and I, if nothing else, and all of your regular guests, have tried to be gentlemen. It's like we've all bellied up to the bar, and we have enormous respect for each other's program. We understand that the other guy loves his school as much as I love mine. And yeah, you can get rowdy a little bit on game day, and that's just fun. But I have anybody that doesn't have enormous respect for Alabama's tradition since Saban arrived, and obviously long before that. Alabama was great before Saban got there. They just had a little bit of a desert they had to walk through. But what, to me, the Bama fans that I call friends, as I said, they did not lament the departure of Pete Golding, and he did some curious things, and their defense did not look like they controlled games the way they were used to. But this Saturday, so I think if the average Bama fan, if I had to read minds, which is dangerous.
Well, I think most of these...
You still there?
Yeah, here.
Let me finish the thought. So most Bama fans would say, how do we get our offense? Well, let's play a Pete Golding defense. And to that, I would say, be careful what you ask for, because we've seen coaches have a rough patch, and it happens for sometimes they get all the blame when it's really a little more complex situation. That, for example, when Saban was running these high-octane offenses that created a lot of plays, a quick scoring on offense, does that help? Does that put your defense in a tougher spot to perform at a high level? I don't know. I'll leave it to Bama fans who really know football to make that judgment. But I do think Pete Golding, he knows a lot of defense and how to create confusing looks, and it looks like they're going to put Milroe back in action. So to me, a really interesting subplot that ties back to Ron Roberts, because Pete Golding cut his teeth on Ron Roberts' defensive philosophy. It's going to be fascinating to see, can Ole Miss cause Alabama and Milroe some confusion or not? I have no idea. We'll just look forward to watching it. And then Petrino wanted to be Auburn's head coach not once but twice, maybe 3 times that we don't know about. And you've got a little pressure testing of this Ron Roberts Auburn defense against a very good offensive mind in Petrino, and I'm sure Jimbo is adding what he wants to do with what maybe is the highest performing QB along with LSU's quarterback in Connor Wegman.
Yeah. Doug, stay with us if you can. We're going to have Ann Camp-Lee, one of my sponsors, rumbleboxinggym.com, to talk for a couple of minutes. And then Rodney Orr is going to be on with us, Tighter Insider. And I love getting y'all two together. I think you've been on before with Rodney. But I love the stuff about Ron Roberts' coaching tree. This guy, when I saw that Auburn was bringing him in, that got me way more excited than the Philip Montgomery. Not that he's not good, but Ron Roberts is a guy that I've followed for a while and really impressed with. Let's bring in Ann Camp real quick, Doug, and then we're gonna talk with her, and then we're gonna get back in to some more football. Waiting for her to get settled in. Here we go. And you're in the office right now. You are actually at Rumble Boxing Gym, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis, right on the corner of Union and McLean. And Doug, you go into these classes, and I do the math, do the gazendas. A prize fight is 15 3-minute rounds. There we go. Get the Fighting Okra. You know what you need to do, Ann? You need, the Fighting Okra of Delta State University down in the Delta of Cleveland, Mississippi. They have the best T-shirts. Everybody go to Delta State University. Get online and order you a Fighting Okra T-shirt. In fact, I'm doing it. It's cool, but the boxing that's there, you've got. Talk about it. I think it's so cool. And when we get moved back into Memphis here soon, I'm looking forward to being in the class because I love to swim, bike, run, do all that stuff. This is another level of exercise. Rumble Boxing Gym. Give people a couple of minutes here why they need to join and how it can change their lives.
Okay. Some of you already know this, maybe a little repeat, but we've got 24 water-filled bags on one side of the room. They're 250 pounds of water each, and they feel like a heavy bag, but they're easier on your hands. So they're just a blast to punch. So you've got half the class on these 24 bags. And then the other half of the class is on benches. So you've got weight benches with different levels of weights. So it's just a good combination of cardio and strength training and HIIT training. We throw in burpees. Got to have burpees for the football players. And push-ups and renegade rows and all kinds of other stuff. So it's a really good full body workout, but we also target different areas on different days, upper body days, lower body days, and full body. And then we've got, we throw in different things like we've got a real female boxer who just recently retired to have a baby named Christian Price. And she's awesome. And she's teaching workshops. She's got one today on just the jab, which she says is the most important thing. So, and we had a defensive workshop. So we throw in different classes in addition to our usual. And then we've got, so we've got some really good deals too. Between now and the end of the year, we've got 20% off of the unlimited membership, 20% off your first month if you join between now and December. And then we've got different challenges based on, like, if you take 12 classes, then you get an additional discount. If you take 16, 20 classes, you get more money off. So the more classes you take, the more money you get off, and the skinnier and more fit you get.
Well, and you've got all the gear there, Doug. When you go in, they've got awesome. I don't know if you can get a shot right now and kind of show people, but all the gloves, you got to have the gloves on your hands that are underneath the big boxing gloves. But holy cow. Those bags look like teardrops hanging from the ceiling.
I've got some gloves. I'm actually at home right now, but
okay, you're in the office. Okay. Well, the bottom line is rumbleboxinggym.com. It's on our website at www.sidelines.live. And Doug, her mother, you've heard me talk about. Are those the gloves?
Yeah, this is the Rumble bundle, and you can get the Rumble bundle for like $99. And we've got black gloves and black matte gloves and pink gloves and pretty much anything you want. But you buy this bundle, and it gets you the gloves and a set of wraps and the carrying bag with it. And I wanted to point out. Can I point out one thing, Rob?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say something about your mother too.
Okay. I was going to tell you that I was watching the Jets get annihilated. Aaron Rodgers is my favorite, and I was sad to see him out. But anyway, I watched Parsons just destroy the Jets single-handedly. And I don't know if y'all heard this or not, but several times the announcer said that he attributes that to boxing. And he said that it helps him know what the opponent's hands are doing and where they are. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, medically, I mean, a lot of people, and again, I'm no doctor, but people say if you've got any ailments and whatever, boxing engages both sides of your brain. Doug, her mother is 97 years old, Ann Camp. I've known her since the mid-90s in the Mid-South Hunting Retriever Club. She was inducted into the Arkansas Waterfowl Hall of Fame, world champion duck caller back March 2nd. And again, the Bass Pro Hall of Fame, August 18th, August 19th up in Springfield, Missouri. And how many hits or views has she had on that social media? She got a standing ovation, Doug, blowing her duck call. And I'm hopefully going to get to go on the trip hunting with her at the OK Duck Club or somewhere near there in December. She'll be almost 98 duck hunting. And you talk about good genes, Doug. It's amazing, Ann. You got to love it.
Yep. She got 1 million hits on Cuz Strickland's post. And then she's got one podcast off. I mean, she's already had one podcast under her belt, and now she's got 2 more offers, and she got a free $5,000 golden retriever sent to her.
I mean, you talk about optimism, 97 years old buying a puppy. I love it. And look forward to having you back on here again. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of Sidelines. We're growing. We got a lot of people. Check it out, folks, rumbleboxinggym.com. And I will talk to you here soon, and I'm going to come by and see you and get some video. Have a great day.
All right, come punch.
All right, come punch. I love it. Doug, that boxing is so intense, and it's a lot of fun. You know, one thing it is, you can think about an official. Like if you're a Tennessee fan, watching those officials at the end of the Florida game the other day, that was some of the worst calls I've ever seen, but that's just sort of par for the course. But let's bring in the man from Tuscaloosa County on the May Veterinary Clinic, Crimson Tide Report May Veterinary Clinic, established in 1964 by Dr. Wayne May, Auburn College of Veterinary Medicine, carried on by his sons Waller and Guy May, 2 locations, Tuscaloosa and Northport, Alabama. Also, dog and cat daycare facility called Camp May, even has its own pool. And we all remember the old lady at the end of the street. We were scared to knock on her door for Halloween. We thought her house was haunted. And she finally came to the door, and she gave us some old stale Lay's potato chips for Halloween. And she had whiskers and 25 cats crawling around the house. If a woman, anybody, has cats, they can take them to the May Veterinary Clinic. They have connecting cat condos. All the cats are there together. Again, the best veterinary care anywhere. The most compassionate, kind people, Dr. Waller May, Dr. Guy May, their staff, their assistants, and everybody. They carry Sidelines on Google Smart TV live Monday through Saturday, as they say down in the South. But we're proud to have them as a sponsor of Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, Alabama Report. Rodney, Doug Dean, AU Dose, Rob Browne here in Cross County, Arkansas, are ready to hear how you have solved all of Alabama's problems, and everything is A-OK.
Well, I hate to tell you, if you're an Alabama fan, they're not A-OK. There's a lot of issues, obviously. A lot of issues. I don't know where you want to start. The offensive line. I thought the offensive line blocked better, played better as a whole later in the game. Maybe they're starting to come together. It takes some time for an offensive line to develop and mesh. Maybe that happened a little bit in the fourth quarter. I thought the running game got a little better. The quarterback situation, obviously they did not go with Milroe in this game. They went with Tyler Buckner and, Ty Simpson. Obviously those guys, their limited playing time probably showed, so Saban is now going back to Jalen Milroe for this game. And apparently for the future at least. And I guess we'll see how that unfolds. But, again, I think defensively, Alabama played pretty well. They played pretty well defensively all season, except, to me, in the fourth quarter of the Texas game, and I think they just simply wore out in that game, or, when the dam broke, because they didn't get a lot of help from the offense. So, we'll see. I think it's obviously a big game coming up Saturday, and that'll tell us a lot if Alabama can win that game, and the next week go to Mississippi State, handle that game, and we'll see what happens. College Station in 3 weeks, because that might be the telltale of the season.
Doug?
Right, Rodney. First of all, from an Auburn guy, you do fantastic work and have for a long, long time, bringing great content and opinion to Bama Nation. So I wanted to tip the hat to you. But what I'm intrigued by, and there's no shortage of teams who have a lot of talent who are going through exactly this. In your first couple or three games, if you're, as in the case of Alabama, maybe, I want to be careful not to draw too many conclusions since I don't follow Alabama regularly, but that you're still, it's a work in progress to get your quarterbacks and wide receivers and I guess pass pro dialed in like they should be capable of, because the talent's there. Maybe not like they had just all world receivers, best ever in college football. But my question to you is, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that defensive coordinators are going to, and they'll go about it different ways, but they're going to see if they can come up, disguise run blitzes, but try to slow Alabama's run game and force the quarterback, whoever that is, it looks like Milroe this Saturday, force you to beat them through the air early. So does it beg the question that you almost have to put a plan in to be willing to pass on early downs because that's what the defense is going to dictate to you? Your thoughts on that, Rodney?
I mean, look, I'll say this: you run two straight balls, two straight plays, right over the center, right between the guard and center, and you got 3rd and 9. That's going to be really tough for any quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that's we saw some of that on Saturday. Again, I think it got a little bit better. I think the throw that Ty Simpson made to C.J. Dupree kind of opened things up. That was a beautiful throw, by the way. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be real interesting to see how this all unfolds. Because it sounds like to me, if what I'm hearing is correct, Lane Kiffin made that comment that it looked like T-Rob was calling the plays defensively. Saban kind of shot that down yesterday, but they did change the communication apparently. From Steele to T-Rob to the field. And it sounds like they might be doing some things offensively the same way. You remember in 2014, the way Kiffin would basically signal to Blake Sims what to do. Yeah. And it sounds like they're going to some similar type communication maybe this Saturday. So, we'll see how they all make those adjustments offensively, see how the offensive line performs. And look, I think Milroe's he brings, this is why I think Milroe's a good choice if you're going to go ahead and name the quarterback, is first of all, it's the start of SEC play. You really need to get somebody in there settled. Number 2, he brings a lot of explosive playmaking ability, whether it's a deep ball or his feet. He brings explosive playmaking ability. He can help you score a lot of points. The problem with Milroe on the flip side is he can also help the other team score points very quickly. He makes some really questionable throws. You saw it against Texas. It's been a pattern. It's been a pattern in practice. It's been a pattern in scrimmages. It's been a pattern against the better defenses. The question is, can they manage that and help him to be more successful? So I guess that's really where we are right now. And a lot of these questions will start kind of revealing themselves this coming Saturday.
Yeah. Well, here's a question from Boris Karloff in West Point, Mississippi. Where do you start with the problems at QB? I love Boris Karloff. I remember that guy used to scare the hell out of me on the Friday night horror film. But anyway, Boris, and I think, and I'll throw this in, that game against South Florida, And Rodney, I'm going to throw this at you, and Doug, you opine if you wish. But a lot of people, the narrative was Alabama's mad. They're going down to Tampa, and they're just going to unleash, a can of whoop ass on South Florida. They're going to find them a quarterback. They're going to use this as a scrimmage. And, one of my guys, Jerry Kirby up in Clarksville, Tennessee, sent me a thing Monday night driving back from Orange Beach, and he said, watch out. That's a trap game. He said, South Florida definitely will cover and take that game into the fourth quarter. The coach, Alex Golish, whatever, used to be the offensive coordinator for Josh Heupel. And I think if anything, it just showed what happens, like Tim Tebow said, making a change in the locker room with a quarterback this early is dangerous. And Tyler Buckner had his audition. Ty Simpson did. But athletically, I'm with you, Rodney. You've been saying this all along. It's Jalen Milroe, but it's going to be a lot of, did you just see that, what he just did? And then a lot of, oh, my God, did you see what he just did? Your thoughts on that? Because this guy, I think, athletically gives Alabama the best chance, but he's got to get help from that offensive line. They're not there yet.
Well, some people comment on what Nick Saban decides to do in terms of the quarterback last week. It kind of helps to kind of know the situation. Mm-hmm. And, when you decide that your quarterback is turning the ball over, 2 really bad turnovers against Texas, it probably cost you the game. He missed a couple of easy touchdown throws. He missed some prediction calls, some different things. Okay, so you're uncertain with your quarterback. And when you go in that week to practice and you decide that you're going to give the other guys more opportunities, more reps, and if the quarterback doesn't respond to that in the right way, then the coach probably is going to make a decision on what he wants to do that week. So it's really hard to say that he was replacing Milroe because just to go out there and give the other 2 guys an audition. I think he was trying to find out, what are these guys going to do in practice? And then the way Milroe responded to that probably wasn't the way he should have. So with all that said, I think that, right now the key is that Mo is probably your best option. There's no doubt about that in my mind right now, today, because the other guys just aren't ready. I mean, Ty's definitely got some ability, but you could see doesn't have enough reps. He doesn't have enough experience. I mean, every week would be something new for him. And I just think, again, I go back to Milroe's explosive playmaking ability. I mean, I think he gives you the best chance. He gives you a puncher's chance against anybody because of his big play ability. The question, again, is the mistakes, just the mistakes that he makes. And I really think that Saban was hoping he could find somebody that could be productive enough and manage the game well enough, that kind of settle the offense down. And that's not going to happen right now. And I think Milroe is the guy. I think that's why he's the guy.
Yeah. Doug?
Yeah, this is my last question. I'll get out of your way. But Rodney, I'm Auburn fans, obviously, and Alabama over the last 20 years know a heck of a lot about the book on Kevin Steele. I have enormous admiration for him. You don't call a perfect season or game every year. The other guy is trying to win too. But would you say from the inside that Kevin Steele is, I think the answer, I'm answering my own question if I apologize, but that if you're DC at Alabama, you're going to be running, for the most part, Saban's defense. But is philosophically, is it the Saban defense that you're used to seeing over all these 10 or 12 years, or is Kevin Steele kind of adding any different twist to what they're trying to get done defensively so far?
I mean, look, I obviously Steele made it pretty clear it's always Nick Saban's defense, but I think he understands that Saban defense. He understands some things you can do defensively to simplify. So I think Kevin Steele's brought a lot to this defense. I really do. And I think that, he's done some things to simplify the communication of it. It's really helped the players to play faster, I think. They've got some inexperience, and I think that kind of makes it tough. Caleb Downs is a true freshman back there at safety. They had some injuries that kind of shook things up the preparation week for Texas. But I think overall, they've done a really good job defensively. They've been a little more sound than I think they were last few years. They've tackled better. They seem to communicate better. Now, I will say this. There was a few times it was really frustrating if you're watching it and you say, you got them 3rd and 8 and the quarterback scrambles around and gets free and goes for 15, 20 yards, whatever it was. And I think that goes back to the discipline up front. I mean, at times they've lost their discipline, in their pass rush lanes. But other than that, I mean, I think overall defensively, so far, they've done pretty well. I mean, I can't really compare or on the other side. We're talking about offense. A lot of people from like, this is not Tommy Rees. I don't know whether he's doing a great job. He's 3 games, I mean, it's tough to tell. And I think he's been obviously, he's obviously been back situation.
Yeah. Rodney, you were breaking up a little bit there. Got another question here from Floyd the Barber in XL, Alabama. Is there a great wide receiver on the Alabama roster? I guess he's referring to, is there another Devontae Smith, another Jerry Jeudy, anyone like Jalen Waddle, anybody that can open up a game? Because when you look at what Alabama is facing, and I'm just, I guess you can say, well, my God, you've had such a great run of receivers. Maybe it's just not your year, but I'm looking and thinking, you thought Ja'Cory Brooks, was going to be a great wide receiver. Somebody, Jermaine Burton, who transferred from Georgia, but that's a question, Rodney. From Floyd the Barber in XL, Alabama. Is there a great wide receiver on the roster? So what do you think?
You got a lot of movie stars that watch your show, huh?
Yeah, I think these people use these names in the witness protection program, kind of like these false monikers. But Doug Dean had to drop off. He's got to get back into a meeting. But I like these names. Floyd the Barber. Andy. Next thing we're going to have one from Ernest T. Bass down in Daleville, Alabama, in the Wiregrass or something. You know where the Wiregrass is?
Yeah. No, but I totally forgot. What was your question, Rob?
Floyd the Barber wanted to know, is there a great wide receiver on the Alabama roster that you think could step up and save this team? Help save the team. Can't do it alone.
I think they've got a good group. I don't know that they've got a great group. No. I mean, I think they've got a really good group, potentially. Burton, Isaiah Bond,
yeah.
Just been really impressed with Prentice of late. Where was it not black in this last game?
Yeah.
But no, I think they've got a good group. And Devontae Smith, no. I mean, but he's the only guy that's won a Heisman in 30 years of receivers, so those don't come around often.
Yeah, wasn't he the first one since Desmond Howard at Michigan?
Was, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, 30 years out of Amite, Louisiana, and now playing for, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Rodney, you're breaking up a little bit, so I'm going to ask you. Got some more questions. I don't have time to type them in, but it's a question from a viewer down in Destin, Florida. Tell you what, with the interwebs, you get people from all over. Of course, we're based out of Memphis, but with the interwebs on this podcast, it goes out all over the place. This is from Jim in Destin, Florida, and he says, does Alabama have the depth in the running back room to help? But again, yeah, they've got talented players. You had the number 1 recruiting year in America last year, but I got to ask, is this offensive line, do they have it? I mean, they're big, Rodney. They're huge. Mm-hmm. They're, as my kids say, they're ginormous. Your kids and grandkids say that word, ginormous. I'm not sure if that's in Webster's dictionary, but there's something missing on this team, and it's hard to put a finger on it because every week when you watch Alabama play, there's something new. You're going, damn. But I'm with you. I think Kevin Steele and what he's doing with the defense, that's what he's good at, is simplifying the defense to where the players don't have to think so much on every snap. They react. And that's a lot easier to play. If you're having to think about 5 or 6 different checks on every play, you got a problem. As Rosanna Dana would say, you got a problem. And it's tough to deal with. But Rodney, looking in the running back room, there's a freshman on there from Buford, Georgia. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about the depth in the running back room, because Alabama under Nick Saban has been one of the running back U's in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I thought Roy Dell ran extremely well in the second half of this game. He ran for over 100 yards in the second half alone.
Yeah, he did.
So he had a really good game. I mean, Jace has not really got on track yet, but hopefully he will. And I got a lot of confidence. I like Jace a lot. And I do think they need to get. Jam Miller played a little bit in this last game. I think he's really good, and I think they've got to get the kid from Buford, Justice Haynes, in the game. I mean, I think they've got to find a way to get him some touches. I think they got plenty of depth. I mean, and again, I understand that the running back rotation is kind of tough, because when you have 4 guys, if you try to rotate them all, it can be tough. I mean, I understand that, but I mean, I do think that again, I think part of it too is, are these young guys like a Justice Haynes? Is he ready in terms of pass protection? Is he ready to do that? And he may be, but I just think that it's Rob. The thing that nowadays, this day and time, is if you don't get guys on the field, they're not going to stick around. And I mean, I'm talking about even as freshmen, they're not going to stick around. So I think it's a real balance that you've got to be able to manage.
Yeah, and this is another one from Tommy in Mobile, Alabama. It says, this is an interesting request, just a question here. At least play the Alabama fight song so we can feel good about ourselves. Here we go. Well, you know what? Look, and we did that for you, and we get a lot of strange requests on here. But Rodney, you're doing a great job, and I got to give you credit. And folks, tonight, 6:30 p.m. Set your timer. I don't care what you got going on. Stop. Don't eat dinner till 7. Okay, 6:30 p.m. Tuesday nights. Rodney Orr and Gary Harris. Just 2 damn good guys. I really like them both. They cover Alabama, but they also cover and know college football across the board. A couple of things about them. They're just damn good people, and they love the game. I don't care who you're a fan of. You will learn watching Tighter Insider TV. It is 30 minutes, 22 minutes of content, 8 minutes of the great sponsors that they have. But I love what you do, and I love your quote, Rodney. You never know what you're going to be talking about on Tighter Insider until you show up. It's like reaching down there in that thing at the grab bag at the office Christmas party. You're going, oh, exactly what I wanted. Half of a boomerang. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. But Rodney, Superman, super grandfather, you do it all. I love it. You're taking your grandson to a class, and then you call us and join us via StreamYard when you get through with that. Cannot thank you enough. On the May Veterinary Clinic, Tuscaloosa and Northport, 2 great locations. Dr. Waller May, Dr. Guy May, and their staff there. Dogs and cats always welcome at the Camp May Dog and Cat Daycare Facility, open every day, Saturdays or Sundays only. Drop off and pick up 3 to 5 p.m. at Camp May. They even have their own outdoor pool. Rodney, just a couple of minutes left here. As they say down in the Deep South, on Saturday, Ole Miss is going to drive on over there to Oxford. They'll probably take a bus if they're smart. And there's going to be a game played.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick a quarterback versus quarterback, this is what I thought in the Texas-Bama game. I said, if it comes down to Quinn Ewers versus Jalen Milroe, which one of them can take the game on their shoulders, I'm taking Ewers. In this one, Jackson Dart versus whoever Alabama has, you got to favor Dart. But we all know the secret weapon with Alabama is Nick Saban's the coach, and you're right about Kevin Steele. Simplify that defense. What do you do now on offense? Just close the ranks and say we're going to be very basic and run a half a dozen plays until they can't stop us anymore. Not giving away a game plan because I don't have it, but your thoughts on this? Your thoughts on this, and coach, and I'll hang up and listen and roll tide.
Yeah, my thoughts would.
Oh, we lost him again. Well, here we go, Rodney. Yeah, your thought, Rodney. Go ahead. Your thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, I think that Milroe has been a turnover machine at times.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. You've got to be able to protect the football. If you keep giving Jackson Dart opportunities, Lane Kiffin, they're probably going to score some points on you. I understand Ole Miss is a little banged up. I think their offensive line, I was talking to one of my top Mississippi sources just a little while ago.
Yeah.
And he said they're a little banged up, and maybe their best receiver won't play. Judkins is a little banged up. I got the poor me report, Rob.
little Abner got through, didn't
probably,
little Abner?
Which probably means they're going to come in 100% breathing fire, and Kiffin's going to call the best game of his life.
Yeah. Sounds like
I think it's a real challenge. It's going to be a real challenge. I'm probably going to pick Alabama just barely in this game. But Jackson Dart, man, I'm telling you, if he gets hot, and that it could be a real interesting game.
Yeah. Look, tell people how they can subscribe to Tider Insider real quick.
TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information, but really right now, most of the action's on our All Sports forum. I mean, if it's not for the faint of heart, to be honest with you, but there is a lot of really good exchange, opinions, information, all of this, and some real fighting going on at times.
Hey, that's what's fun. Look, Dr. Waller May, we were Pledge Brothers, Sigma Nu at Auburn, talked to him every day. And he says, I subscribe to Tider Insider. He said, I just like Rodney. Rodney's a good guy. So is Gary Harris. And that's quite a compliment. The Fighting Mays, all those Auburn folks, but living there in Tuscaloosa. And he's like, yeah, man, 95% of my clients are Alabama fans. But anyway, great people. But Rodney, so appreciate you coming on the show with us every Tuesday for the May Veterinary Clinic Report. Going to be a hell of a game Saturday. Long season ahead of us. But like my son Wilson said the other day, he said with the portal and NIL and all these moving around, it's making every weekend like the opening weekend of March Madness in the men's basketball tournament. And I ain't got a problem with that, but it is crazy. You'd like to know what you're going to get out of your team, but great stuff. Check them out tonight, folks, 6:30 p.m. on YouTube, Tider Insider TV, Rodney Orr and Gary Harris. Okay. Want to thank everybody, all of our sponsors, all of our listeners. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Folks, go out and do some good deeds and kind things for people that you don't even know. You never know what a little bit of help can do to change somebody's life. And to all of you, thank you. God bless America, and we'll see you tomorrow.